Hello, I'm the Comics Kid 2099, and I'm here to show you guys some movies in my collection. Now, not all of these belong to me, some of them belong to my family, and I'll only be talking about the stuff that's mine, or the stuff that I enjoy. So we're starting in alphabetical order. We have Airplane, great film, love this film so much. I'm not sure if I've ever laughed so much in a movie. And then we have all 5 seasons of Angel. I got these online, that's why they're inconsistent in size. These are what I would say is a normal box set for a television season. Then these are monstrosity-ish in size. And then this is, I like the way this was set up. I had never seen a full-blown season do this before. So that's all 5 seasons of Angel. And then we have the Animatrix. I don't know what the common opinion is on that film, but I enjoyed a couple of the segments in it. And then if you see a film in here that's turned sideways like this, it means that we bought it, but we haven't yet watched it. Although I have seen this movie before. It's AI, Artificial Intelligence. I enjoyed it when I saw it. I haven't watched it again since I bought it. I'll get on that someday. And we have all 3 seasons of Avatar: The Last Airbender. Such a great show. Alien vs. Predator. I believe this is the only film from the Alien/Predator franchise that I own. Love that film. Such a great guilty pleasure for me. When I'm just in a bad mood, I can just pop that in and I won't be by the end of the film. Now, we got Back to the Future, the whole trilogy. I believe I got that for my birthday or for Christmas once. And then the rest of this, almost this entire shelf right here, is Batman stuff. We have the 1966 movie. We have all 4 of the films, what I like to call the Burton-Schumacher franchise. Batman, Batman Returns, Batman Forever, and Batman and Robin. This is the double disc set that has commentary and part of a documentary on it. Someday I'd like to get the equivalent for all 3 of these, just so I can see what all else was said on that documentary and the commentaries and stuff. But for now, I've just got, basically it's just the movie with no extra features. And then, Volume 1 of Batman the Animated Series. It was at Walmart for about $20. I thought that was a steal, so I got it. I don't have any of the others because they're not at Walmart. But someday I'll have them, I hope. And then Season 1 of The Batman. I know that not a lot of people cared for this show. I think it was because they were always comparing it to this show. I enjoyed it. It wasn't as good, but I enjoyed it. I can't ask for anything more. The 2 films in the Christian Bale, Christopher Nolan franchise, Batman Begins and The Dark Knight. I've put The Dark Knight here, even though it's not alphabetically correct. It's part of this franchise, so I'm eschewing the alphabet in that instance. And then I've got all of Batman Beyond. Now, for some reason, there were 4 seasons of this television show, but if you see the DVDs, there's only 3 seasons, and that's because Season 1 is collected on this disc that says Season 1, and then Season 2 and 3 are collected on the disc that says Season 2. And then Season 4 is collected on the disc that says Season 3. So it's a little weird. If you look on Wikipedia, it will tell you that Batman Beyond only had 4 seasons. If you look on Amazon, it will tell you 3 seasons. It's a little strange. And then there's Return of the Joker. Such a great film. I think I've got most of these animated Batman movies. Gotham Knight. And then this is a double feature of Mr. Freeze, Sub-Zero, and Mask of the Phantasm. Then I've got Mystery of the Batwoman, and then Under the Red Hood. I don't have Year 1 yet. I don't know why. I'm a little behind on the DC animated movies. And I don't have The Dark Knight Returns Part 1 because I'd like to get Part 1 and 2 at the same time and watch it all at once. So that's why I don't have The Dark Knight Returns Part 1. And then we have Beetlejuice over here. This is one of my bread and butter movies. I grew up with this movie as a child. If you've seen that movie, you know what's awesome about it. If you haven't seen it, what are you doing here? Go watch Beetlejuice. Oh. Beowulf. I have mixed feelings on this. On the one hand, I thought it did a decent job of... It did like an 80% good job of adapting the epic poem. The other 20% is where I felt like they made these really weird changes just for the sake of making changes. There was one instance where I thought a change made sense in the context of the movie, but I may do a full-blown video on that someday. I recently reread Beowulf for a class, and I'm not as keen on this movie now as I was when it first came out. And then the first 2 seasons of The Big Bang Theory, those are not mine. Those belong to my family. I don't much care for that series, so I don't watch it. Then I have one of the many versions of Blade Runner. I like this film. I haven't seen it a lot, maybe 2 or 3 times. That's enough for me. If I watched it many times, I'd probably not like it as much. You know, I can see it once a year, a little less, and I'm good. Yes, The Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai Across the Eighth Dimension. I love this film. If you haven't heard of this film, do yourself a favor and watch it. Don't put too many expectations on it. It's not a perfect film, but it is highly enjoyable. One of the underrated films of the 1980s. I wish that more people were aware of this film. I wish this film had gotten a sequel. There are just so many things that I wish had happened here. And then we have all 7 seasons of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. As I've said in my last video, I'm not the raging Joss Whedon fanboy that many other people are. But if you look at this video, you might think I am. I'm basically a completist. And once I started with Buffy, the first couple of seasons, which I liked, I just kept going because I hadn't seen the rest of it. And by the time I got to seasons 6 and 7, I was like, well, this isn't as good as the original stuff, but I'm almost done. So I just kept going. And not all of these were very expensive. I think I got season 6 and 7 for like $15 a piece at Walmart. Oh, not even kidding. One of my favorite films of all time, The Burbs. If you haven't seen this film, watch it. I don't even think I'm going to do a video on this, because the more I say about this, there are several elements of this film that you can't even discuss without basically ruining the movie. Because I'm in the camp that if you spoil a film, you're essentially ruining it. Chicken Run. I haven't seen this film in a few years, but I enjoyed it. It's one from my preteen days. If you've seen The Great Escape, it's a lot like a condensed version of The Great Escape, but with fewer characters and chickens instead of humans. So watch it pretending like it's a Nazi prisoner of war movie, and well, it's fun. I have not seen The Chronicles of Riddick, but I bought this film for $1 at a yard sale. It's the second film in a franchise, so someday I may find the other one and watch it. I don't know. Basically, I'm okay with it. You know what? It really does need to be turned over like AI. There we go. And we have Cloverfield. I don't know if people like this film. I liked it quite a bit. I thought it was a really fun examination of, you have monster movies like Godzilla or King Kong, and I thought it was a really interesting way of looking at those kinds of movies. Any of these found footage movies, you're going to lose some suspension of disbelief. In reality, if a giant monster was attacking the city, I wouldn't be holding this camera throughout the entire night. But you know what? I'm okay with a little suspension of disbelief in there. Yeah, he probably wouldn't hold the camera, but, you know, who cares? I like this movie. It's the only found footage movie that I do like. Then here is one of my other favorite movies of all time. Clue and The Burbs is like Neptune and Uranus, the planets. in that they're often switching orbits. Sometimes Clue is my all-time favorite movie, and sometimes The Burbs is. Both of them are just fantastic. And this movie, I think more people are familiar with it than they are The Burbs. And rightly so. It's a great movie. I enjoy it a whole lot. The alternate endings thing is just, it's brilliant. The whole thing is brilliant. Season 1 of the television show Community. This show, I fell in love with it and then fell out of love with it. Season 1 is just incredible. Some of the best television that I've seen. How it always is working to subvert your expectations. You think something is going to happen, and it's, without even making a big deal out of it, it makes something else happen that you don't see coming. I love the characters. I love the premise, and I think that's part of the reason why I've stopped watching the show, because now I think they're on season 4. I stopped watching in season 3 because I felt like they weren't living up to the premise that was set up here, and that's a problem. But now they've got a different showrunner. The guy who created the show is kind of insane, and he was fired, and that's a whole hoopla that I won't get into. But I love this season. I recommend it. Moving on to some of the stuff that I'm not going to talk about all of these. Cold Comfort Farm. Such a hilarious movie. It's not mine. I don't own it. I think this is my mom's copy. But if you haven't seen it, watch it. It's really funny. Kind of a big city girl moves into a rural type setting, and it's not what you think. It's got Kate Beckinsale in it. Joanna Lumley. I don't know who that is. It's a great film. Okay, here's the... She discovered a new branch of her family tree. The one with all the nuts. Okay. Then we have Daredevil, which, you know what? When I went to see that movie in theaters forever ago, I did not really care for it. Then, last year, in 2011, I watched it again for the first time, and I really enjoyed it. I don't know what has changed with me, and I know there are some problems with the film. Narratively, there's a couple of things about it that I really do not like. But I thought this was a really good film. I don't know if I'll do a video on it. I don't have much to say beyond that. I haven't seen the director's cut, so maybe if I saw the director's cut, I would feel differently about this movie. And then we've got Dark Crystal. Yeah, don't watch this film. It's not what I thought it would be. I was expecting this to be a wonderful film that I could watch many times over. The best thing about that movie is the puppet work. Everything else is just awful. I did not enjoy that film. And we have the Darkman trilogy. If you're curious, just watch Darkman. Don't bother with the 2 other movies because blah. Sam Raimi, early Sam Raimi work, by the way. And then we got Death Proof by Quentin Tarantino. I may do a video on that movie someday. It's an interesting effort. Maybe not a success, but interesting effort nonetheless. And then the animated Doctor Strange movie, which I've got a love-hate relationship with this movie in that I love hating it. Doctor Strange is one of my favorite characters of all time, and I'm shocked that Marvel chose to do an animated movie of him either first or second. I don't remember if this came before the Invincible Iron Man or after. I'll talk about it later someday. I didn't care for it very much. Dollhouse Season 1. This is another Joss Whedon production. With all the other shows that he's done, Angel, Buffy, and Firefly, all of those were canceled before I even knew who this guy was. Dollhouse is the only show out of his entire directorial production that I can consider to be mine. It started, I knew it was coming on whenever it first came on, and I watched it until it got canceled. I can't say that about any of the other shows, even if there's one other show he did that I liked more than Dollhouse. The show is not perfect. There were a couple of issues I had with season 1 and very end of season 2, but I enjoyed the show. I don't think it gets the props that it deserves. For example, I think it's much better than Buffy. I think it's much better than most of Angel. So take that for what it's worth. Oh, Elektra. Can you believe I actually paid money for that movie? It's true, I did. And then when I watched it for the second time, less than a year ago, I was shocked that I paid money for it too. So if you are curious about the film, don't make the same mistake I did. And then, another childhood favorite of mine. Not childhood, this was early teenage years, The Emperor's New Groove. It's a funny movie, very quotable. I mean, it's funny to me as an adult, and I think it's funny to people who haven't seen it when they were younger as an adult. But I may be wrong about that, but I find it to be very funny. Escape from New York, my Christmas Eve movie. For the last 2 or 3 years on Christmas Eve, I have watched this movie. I don't know why, but I enjoy it. It's a fun little film. Both of the Fantastic Four films, when I first saw the first Fantastic Four film, I liked it. Since then, I've watched it a few times, and I don't care for it nearly as much. But there are some things about both of these films that I like quite a bit. But they are more, I consider them both to be interesting failures, and not successes in any way. Oh, Firefly. This is my favorite show that Joss Whedon has ever been involved with. And where everyone else who's seen this show or has heard of it will say, I wish they hadn't canceled Firefly. Well, you know what? If they kept going, if they made 2 or 3 seasons of Firefly, we would have eventually had a bad episode. Okay, you look at Buffy, there were bad episodes of that show. You look at Angel, there were bad episodes. Firefly was the only one that got canceled before it had a chance to suck. And for that, well, I'm glad. Now, do I wish we could have more in some way or another? Yeah, but I think I'd rather it be perfect as is than get more that's imperfect later on. On this shelf, let's see, just got a couple more that are mine. Friends, Season 1. I love Friends. I think it's a great show. I only have the first season because I got this season for like $1. Gargoyles, Season 1. I don't have Season 2 because I haven't seen it anywhere. I may get it online someday soon. Another great show. I may do a video on this someday. And the last one on this shelf before I head out is Ghost Rider, which, not a good movie, but I feel like it had the potential to be a good movie if they changed almost everything about it. Just remember, Istanbul was once Constantinople. Why they changed it, though, I can't say. I'll see you next time.